Ever since the dawn of humankind, we've sought the origins of our life and its purpose. Some have chosen to look to science, religion, or philosophy for answers. Many have turned to the great masters such as Lao Tzu, the Buddha, and Jesus Christ for spiritual illumination. Still others have sought truth through their own direct experience. All of us are searching, knowingly or unknowingly, for enlightenment, truth, and harmony in our lives. This program, hosted by Dr. Gregory Penn, will help you aspire to a more fulfilling and rewarding life.
Every day we take a step, we understand. The closer that we get, we'll find in who we are. We choose between the left and right, the ups and downs, the darkness or the light. We'll find in who we are. There's so many
Good morning and welcome to Aspire. This is going to be our special Thanksgiving program, and we've waited a long time to offer it to you, and I have something very special. We're out here in Julian, California, where it's bright and clear and crisp, and it feels just like Thanksgiving. You know, Thanksgiving is more than a holiday. It's something very, very beautiful, and I want to take you into the depths of Thanksgiving, into the heart of it, so to speak. We're going to be talking about a very beautiful teaching that Jesus gave to us called the widow's mite. And then we're going to have some question and answers. Many of you have written in questions, and I'll be very happy to answer them in the second half of the program. And we're going to invite you to be with us for our Thanksgiving service this Tuesday evening also. We'll talk a little bit more about that later because I have a very special gift for all of you who come. We're going to be working on letting go of the restraints of our mind, of letting go of some of the narrow concepts that we have about life and broadening our point of view. So come spend a half hour with us. Interesting thing about us as we come to this very interesting time of Thanksgiving. We live in such reserve. We live in such conservatism. Life does not have hardly a chance at all of entering into us because we are so conservative about our living. Life is a very spontaneous giving experience. It demands of all of us that we give of ourselves without reservation, but not us. No, most of us are very conservative and very reserved about our living. And because we are reserved and conservative, life does not have a chance in us. It's an interesting thing. I have been a teacher now for a little over 15 years doing this work. And the thing that my students have the most difficulty with, and the thing that I see in most people having difficulty with, is in giving. We are so reserved about our giving. We're so cautious about our giving. So much so that we create a problem in our giving. In fact, I find that most people find it absolutely impossible to give. They will give of themselves in very small portions, in reserve, in conservatism. Life is not a conservative experience, my dear friend. I've never found any part of life to be conservative. From the moment of birth to the moment of death, what is conservative about life? It is always giving and functioning and flowing. If you look at Jesus, he was not a conservative person at all. He often said what most people were afraid to say, and he said it out loud, things that we have all thought. He was not a conservative person. He was right out there, always offering and giving and receiving. I would like to share with you at this Thanksgiving time a little teaching that Jesus gave to us. One of my favorite little passages, one of my favorite little stories. It's found in Luke 21. Verses 1 through 4. I'm going to read it to you. It kind of tells about our reserved, our sense of holding back within us when we give, and it's a perfect example of our conservatism. Jesus stood in the temple, watching rich men place their gifts of money into the temple treasury. He saw a poor widow cast 2 mites amounting to about 1 penny. And Jesus said, "Of a truth I say unto you, that this poor widow has cast in more than they all. For all of these out of their abundance have cast into the offerings of God. But she of her poverty has cast in all of her living, all that she had. I wonder how many of us could be like the widow. Most people would consider that foolish. You know, people who are possessed by their possessions are the biggest fools of all. Fools in the sense that they miss the meaning and the significance of life. Those people who are possessed by their possessions are individuals who find it absolutely impossible to give. We think it is clever in our society today to try to get more than what we pay for, to try to get more than what we want to give. We think it's clever to do those things. It may be clever in the physical world, but I tell you, it creates a definite karma in our life that causes great problems. The widow is a very interesting person. She is the true meaning of thanksgiving. She goes to the temple treasury and she puts in a penny. These rich people put in a part of their income. And it was a lot of money. And most people would say, well, gee, they put in much more than the widow. The widow puts in $1. These people put in hundreds of dollars. Who would you say gave more? Most people would say, well, it's the amount of the gift that is more important. And I say, no, no. No, this little widow shows us the spirit and the courage of what true giving is all about. She cast in all of her living, all of her life. Now, that doesn't mean that the penny that she had was all that she owned. That's not what it meant at all. It was the spirit of how she gave that was so important. Many people do not understand this. She put in a penny. That penny was empowered because she put all of herself into it. She was not reserved about giving her gift. She was not giving her gift out of a sense of fear or conservatism. She was putting all of herself into that penny. All of her living, her gratitude, her thanksgiving. It's a very beautiful moment in a person's life. You know, it's easy for us to give a small portion of the much which we have. It's very easy. We don't even hardly think about it. We think about it as an obligation or a bill. Charitable giving is a very difficult thing for people. Not only that, but paying our bills. So we create kind of a resistance within us. And when we start to resist, we create big problems. When you don't know how to give, when you are not giving from the depths of yourself, you are creating the opportunity for great poverty in your life. It may not be the poverty of your finances. It may be the poverty of your relationship, your intimacy with other people, an illness, something that is lacking. Most people in this society that you and I live in, called America, the West, we are only interested in what we can get and what we can have and how we get it and how we can hold on to it. This little widow looks like the big fool. Here she was very poor, and she cast in all of her living. All of her effort was in that little gift. The people who had much to give were very prideful about their giving, showing other people how much they gave. But the widow gave secretly from her heart. We could learn a lot from her, and I'd like to give you 3 steps in the activity of giving. I want to stress this to you. It is the most important thing that you and I do, because every day of our life, we are asked to give. Every moment of our life, on the job, we are asked to give to pay our bills. We are asked to give when we are at a stoplight. Every single moment is a moment of giving. And if we don't know how to do it, we create futility and pain that is absolutely unnecessary in our life. The first thing, when you give, and when I say that, I mean when you pay your bills, when you're giving a gift to someone, when you're making a charitable gift, whatever you're doing. When you give, do not think of gain. What's in it for you? Now, your mind will want to do that. Your mind will want to rationalize that. And most people stop right there and they go, you're out of your mind, Penn. I don't give anything unless I'm going to get something back. Well, please understand. It is the motive of your giving that determines what you get back. And if you give with the idea of receiving, if you give with the idea of gaining more, you create within yourself a blockage. You will find that some area of your life is not totally fulfilled. We create great suffering through desire. We create great suffering through holding. We create great pain and suffering through our non-giving. So as you give your gift, don't think about the idea of what am I going to get out of it? What's going to happen for me? Simply give the gift out of a deep sense of gratitude. Gratitude for the understanding of what it means to give a gift. Let me explain to you what a gift is. A gift can be anything, and here is number 2. Gifts are not just the things that we offer to people in a monetary way. Gifts can be gifts of the heart, of compassion, a kind word. And when you give those gifts, be mindful about it. So when you give a gift, don't be giving it out of guilt or obligation or fear. Any gift given out of guilt, obligation, or fear creates a tremendous karma that brings back to us, again, lack and limitation. There are many of you who tithe out there, but your tithing doesn't bring you anything because you're worried about what you're going to get and how much is going to come back to you, and you're giving out of obligation and fear. Those things only create blockages, limitations. Tithe as you want, give as you want, nothing is going to happen because it's really not a gift. It's an obligation of fear. The last thing, when you give anything, and this is the third one, totally let go. Give thanks and totally let go of the gift. Understand that the gift that you give, whether you're paying your electric bill, your house payment, your grocery bill, or whatever, that you're actually putting out into life the energy that creates more life. You're employing people. You're offering a gift to life that comes back to you in many forms. And when you are open and receptive to that, you begin to understand the teaching, what comes around goes around, what goes around comes around. What I send out comes back to me. Thanksgiving. It is a very difficult law, a very difficult principle for those of us in the West who are fixated on getting and having and holding. But for those of you who realize the subtle law of Thanksgiving, it can be something very meaningful to you. This Thanksgiving, let it be more than football games and a turkey on the table and family and people in your life. Let it be the beginning maybe of a spiritual awakening from giving from the heart rather than the head. Namaste. Welcome back to our show. We're going to be answering some questions that some of you have sent in, and some of them regard tithing and prosperity, which seem to be a very big problem with so many people. I remember many years being a teacher, and the only reason anybody ever came to the center was because they wanted to hear about how to get more and not feel guilty. You know, there's nothing wrong with having nice things. It's when those nice things have you that the problem begins. Please understand, though, that prosperity has nothing to do with the things that you own. Let me begin here. This question comes from San Diego. On your program, you never seem to talk about prosperity like the other metaphysical teachers and ministers I've known. Isn't prosperity important? No, I don't really talk about it like many of them do, for the simple fact that prosperity has nothing really to do with money. And yet, everything I talk about is a prosperity idea. Because prosperity is abundance, but more than that, it is a consciousness. It is an awareness. No, I don't talk about prosperity in the form of how you can get more. Wham, bam, get more stuff. Send in money, I'll bless it, and you'll get more. I think a lot of us are a little more intelligent than that to expect that. But let me say this to you. Prosperity is really not found in anything to do with money or possessions. I'm going to give you the key to prosperity. And it has nothing to do with many of the things that I'm sure you've heard. True prosperity is learning to love yourself and your fellow man. When you love your fellow man as you love yourself, then you will have deep prosperity. That doesn't mean that the people that are around you in your humanness and the people that are around you in humankind aren't going to make mistakes. But deep prosperity is found in learning to love ye one another. And when we love one another, prosperity arises. Because in that love, there is a connectedness. We would never seek to cheat another person. We would never seek to covet another person's possessions. We would never seek to take or rob another person or take advantage of another. That's when prosperity is achieved. When we seek a fairness, a value to things, when we have respect for another person's needs and another person's value as a person, then prosperity happens. But what we do is we say, no, it has to do with money. And prosperity has little or nothing to do with money. Money is added unto you later. Seek ye first the kingdom of heaven and its righteousness, and all the outer things will be added unto you. What an important thought at Thanksgiving time. Let me go on to another one. This one comes from La Jolla. I have trouble with giving. In metaphysical churches I go to, they call it a love offering. I really try as I will, I can't get any love behind my offering. I feel I should give to receive, or that I should give in any way, shape, or form seems rather stupid or childish. Maybe this comes from my childhood. Do you have any comments on this? Yeah, your motive, it is wrong. First of all, a love offering is a love offering only when you are giving it without the idea of what you should be receiving. When it is a pure gift. Let's be intimate for a moment with each other. When you say, I love you to someone, you are giving them a love offering. You are offering to them your love, but more than that, it must be unconditional. If you say, I love you to someone with the idea that they will say, I love you back, your gift has a hidden agenda to it. Strings are attached to it. It's not a gift anymore. So maybe it would be better for you not to give and to suffer in the futility and the stagnation of not giving until you can't stand it any longer. And you finally begin to see that there's no way out of your stagnation, your futility, and your pain until you practice giving of yourself. It is really very important. I know we all go to a lot of churches and they call it a love offering. And if you can't get any love behind it, it's because you're trying too hard. Let go. Learn to give small gifts without your ego and your vanity, your pride getting in the way. Learn to give a gift without holding on to it. Learn to let go of that gift. You know, children are one of those beautiful gifts. We bring them into the world and we nurture them and we, so to speak, play with them and we learn from them. And then there comes a time after we've clothed them and fed them and educated them where we finally have to let them go. That's the biggest love offering that we can offer to the world. And yet many of us as parents have not learned that that is an honor and a privilege, not an obligation. We're afraid to let our children go. We want to hold them and possess them and keep them. Believe me, dear friend, there is nothing in this life that you can hold and possess and keep. No matter how you try, you will never be able to hold it and possess it and keep it. Life is a fluid experience. It's meant to come and then it's meant to go. And if you have trouble with that in your life, you're going to find some real agony in your living. Believe me. The third one, this one comes from San Diego. How does one live in the world with its needs and its demands physically and monetarily and still live a spiritual life? That's an excellent question. You and I live in a world where there are some tremendous demands financially. And if we look at those demands strictly from a monetary point of view, an earthly point of view, they become insurmountable. You have to begin to understand that God so loves you that He will clothe you and care for you. I love what Jesus said on the Mount. Take no thought for your life, what you shall eat, what you shall put on. Amazing. You don't hear many teachers or ministers talking about that one, do you? Take no thought for your life, what you shall eat or what you shall put on. For the life, He said, is more than meat, and the body is more than raiment. He's saying life is more than what you eat and what you own. Most people in the world today do not believe that. They believe that life is what you eat and what you put on and what you show and what you have. As long as you live from that point of view, gaining in any kind of monetary way is going to be absolutely impossible. Be more interested in the quality of how you live. Your job should not be a job that earns you money. Your job should be a job that you enjoy, that brings out your creativity, that actually nurtures and strengthens your love for life, your zest for living. It doesn't mean it won't be challenging. And that doesn't mean at times it won't be difficult. It simply means there will be times when there will be difficulties, but the love of the work and the gift of the job and the expression of that in a free flow way means more to you than anything else. Interesting thing. If you and I begin to practice living our life like that, the money comes, the substance comes, the things come, and the interesting thing about it, at that stage, we could care less. The only thing that matters is finding out how can we give more unconditionally of ourselves. So you can live in the world, but you don't have to live of it. Just don't be obsessed by the things that you think you need. Be aware of the things that you truly are. Another question here. How is being thankful ever going to help me? How is being thankful ever going to help me? Well, that's a difficult question to answer because I sense even behind the question a cynicism. If anything, thankfulness at least opens us up to see our cynical attitudes. Are you cynical about life? Have you become cynical? Have you become tainted or hard? Do you see life as an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth? Every hour, an hour's worth of work for an hour's worth of pay? You know, there are some of us in life, I guess, who have lived that way for a long time. Therefore, being thankful doesn't seem to make sense. What's the use in being thankful? Thankful for what? Thankful for this day and the pain and the suffering that it brought? Well, if anything, thankfulness opens up that cynical side of us. There's nothing I can say to you to make you thankful. All I can say to you is this. When you let go of everything that you think that you have to be crabby about, to be unhappy about, when you let go of everything that you complain about, you begin to see that there is a beauty that has always been in life. It has always been there for you to partake of and to enjoy, but you missed it because you were too busy being crabby. You were too busy being unthankful. You were too busy complaining. There's so much in this beautiful life to be thankful for. Everybody in this world is a treasure and a gift unto itself. So my last words to you probably at this Thanksgiving time would be, don't try to be thankful. See thankfulness in your living. Drop trying to hold on to things. Let things go. If we are very pure in heart, as Jesus said, which is the deepest form of thanksgiving, we will have the opportunity of seeing God. Thank you for letting me share with you. Namaste. You know, Thanksgiving is really not an easy concept for most people, mainly because we've delegated it to a day of the year rather than a spiritual movement within us. And it's so easy to look at Thanksgiving as a holiday, as some sort of commemoration for the abundance that we've had, rather than seeing it for what it is. And I feel that the widow and her mite gave us a lot in this particular lesson to put everything that we can into it. Thanksgiving is not for the conservative person, for the person who's always worried about playing it safe. Thanksgiving is where we open ourselves up and allow the abundance, the bounty, the truth of us to overflow. It's truly a movement of the heart, not of the head. So Thanksgiving, if it is to be a blessing to you, let it be the mark of letting go of that conservative attitude, that restraint that you feel, maybe that reserve that you feel. Let it go inside. You will find that your deepest sense of safety is in offering and accepting. That is what Thanksgiving is all about. Thank you for letting us be with you. Namaste.
We choose between the left and right, the ups and downs, the darkness or the light. We're finding who we are. There's so many roads and rivers that run through this mystery.